Alright, welcome back to the Darkest Dungeon. This is going to be our second run. This time we are facing a medium distance or medium large dungeon, and what that means is we're going to see camping skills for the very first time. I wanted to take the opportunity to not only rename the first four characters, Roby, Arnob, Zirkim, and Archie are going to be our first main team. I also wanted to well, we're still taking one more dungeon without explaining the skills, because after this dungeon, we finally have unlocked the building that allows us to change our skills, and that will be very helpful then. Good. So that's our starting equipment. Let's go into the dungeon. We haven't taken a look at the dungeons yet. I'll explain that the next time. There are 4 different main dungeons, and we are now repeatedly going into the dungeon called the Runes. A dungeon which is known for its skeletons. So, skeletons as enemies have a very high bleed resistance, are usually a little bit slower, and do have quite a significant amount of stress-inducing enemies. So, let's go through the enemies to get to know them. Bone Rebels are the weakest of all skeletons. You can safely ignore them. The Bone Arbalists, however, are pretty strong, and they specifically can crit with their expos. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you kill them first, just like I just did. Second thing that you should know about them: as soon as they are in the first 2 positions, they can no longer deal damage, because they only have a bayonet, and that really doesn't deal any damage. So, since we have killed everything in front of him and he now moved to position number 2, he's in a really, really bad position. He won't be able to deal much damage, and on top of that, we're also critting like hell. So the group rolls a couple of really, really nice attack rolls. Roby looks into the map and finds out that there are some more rooms up there. So the minimap, if you scout through the minimap, you can see all of the things that are happening, and we'll get to that in a second. Again, same concept. We're going for the back line. Yeah, that's it. You can directly see they can deal quite a high amount of damage. 11 critical is nothing to sneeze at. So we're counter healing us. One of the things regarding healing in this game, you will see that healing does not really offset the damage that you receive, and that's intentional. The healing skills are really, really weak compared to the damage skills, and one of the reasons why that is designed as such in the game is they want to make sure that there is a constant deterioration, a constant reduction in resources until you are depleted and until you need to rest. One of the concepts that I really like about the game is it forces you to make decisions that are suboptimal. You can only heal during being in combat. However, once you are in combat for too much of a time, you will see that enemy reinforcements are going to arrive, and that's usually the point where things are getting sour. So after 4 rounds, you need to start to mop up. Round 5 is usually the one where you begin to have increased stress levels. And afterwards, you don't want to be here because that's just going to be reinforcements over and over. Good. Let's talk about the minimap for a second. There are basically 3 different, there are rooms and there are intersections or interconnectors. The interconnectors are the hallways in between. And in such a hallway, there can be 2 types of items: obstacles, like traps or massive blockages, and curages, which you can interact with. They are usually giving you something. The bookshelves, for instance, give you either a positive or a negative quirk. In this case, Roby here has the Wheeled Explorer and will have a higher chance of scouting. Scouting means that you don't need to explore everything on your own. You are receiving parts of the map kind of prior to moving into this area. These things here, the curios, give you an option. Oh, wait, that was wrong. These curios here give you an option to interact with the items that you bring with you in the when going to the provisioner. And one of the things that you should know is there's a lengthy list of which item needs to interact with which item to gain certain benefits. In short, some of the curios have very positive benefits. Some of the curios have, unfortunately, very negative side effects. So you always want to know optimally which effects they do have and not just gamble. So within the rooms, there's a low chance that you will find enemies, unless you're going into a treasure room or a curio room, which is a room where there's a curio like in the middle of the room. So yeah, unless that happens, you basically there is basically nothing in the rooms. They are just places where you can rest and where you can replenish your resources, but the rooms themselves do only seldomly contain battles. In this map, our job is to find all of the rooms that have battles within them and to clear them. Wow, we lost quite a bit of hit points there. Good. One of the topics or one of the problems that you're going to encounter when playing the Darkest Dungeon is the factor of greed. The game forces you to make decisions whether you want to take a loot and even more loot, or if you want to have consumables that are going to help you to survive. The more loot you're going to take with you, the less consumables you're going to have in order to withstand what's happening here. A good mixture is required, or in our cases, maybe a very greedy attitude. We are probably very greedy. You will see me more often choosing the loot than taking the safe route. As for this run, we are successful so far. Need to make sure that we're not going to have a full stress bar, but I'm pretty confident that we can manage it so far. Health looks fine, because we always heal in the second phase. Once we killed the enemies, I talked about the 2 phases already. Once we killed the enemies in the backline, we can then go into and start to heal the damage that we have received.
Devastating blow.
Good. We're again stunning the front line to give us some more time. We're counter healing the damage that we received so far. Unfortunately, we don't have all of the skills unlocked yet, which means we need to play with the standard skills. They give you 1 or 2 standard skills, and the rest is really random. So the ones that we have are okay, but we could have chosen different ones, more fitting ones. Every character has 8 skills, and you can load 4 of them into your inventory, into your bar. The sarcophagus has a chance, let me look it up, I think it's 25%. Yeah, 20% for a negative quirk, but a 60% chance for gold and heirlooms. Wow, we already have kleptomanic. Kleptomanic is one of the worst negative quirks. That means this character here is constantly stealing our money. That's really bad. Let's not get a third one. Maybe we find a way to remove the negative quirk. Getting rid of kleptomanic wouldn't be too bad. So let's talk about quirks and how you could remove them. There is a building in the city that allows you to remove quirks, but it usually costs a lot of money. And to cater the wonderful almost dark style of this game, it is often easier to get rid of a hero and send them away with their mental problems instead of taking care of them. So one of the techniques that many players will do is they will get rid of certain heroes that are simply having too much of a negative quirk. The Iron Maiden, another option for us to gain some extra loot. You've seen that I just unlocked it with the right formula. Some random encounter, we're stunning everyone and or killing them. Front line usually is gonna get stunned, the back line is going to be killed first. Once that's done, you can switch it up and kill the rest. That's the general strategy in the combats. And after this this dungeon, we're going to take a look at the classes and what they can do.
As victories mount, so too will resistance. The match is struck. A blazing star is born.
Good, we're almost there.
Clear. We require only the strength to follow it.
This time the reason why we got shuffled is we had been surprised by the enemy. So what that means is the enemy was getting lucky, and instead of us surprising them, they shuffled us, and we now need to get back into formation. Which can be quite annoying, because when your characters are not able to deal with being at a different position, it could mean that it will take you some time to just move back. Lost turns are the result of being shuffled. Oh my god, Arnob, you are hitting every single shot. I think that was the third crit. Even Zirkim here is motivated and starts to crit heal. Now let's talk about crits for a second. Crits deal plus 50% damage. And
Success so clearly in view.
And they will also reduce the stress level that your character currently perceives. So if the stress is relatively high, crits can reduce that level of stress, the perceived level of stress. Good, let's take this one with us. That's a locked sarcophagus, and we're going to first of all camp, because I want to show you the camping skills, then we're going to get the extra loot, and then the dungeon is over. So, when you're camping, the first question that the game will ask you is, how much food do you want to eat? Always eat the maximum that you have. The lower the number of rations that you eat, the more the morale is going to dwindle, and you also lose hit points. If you get a full meal, like we just did, you gain hit points and you get stress relief. Secondly, one of the 4 characters also always should have an ability which says prevents nighttime ambushes. That's the first one that you always use. So that usually costs 4 time units. You start with 12 time units, and now you have 4 more time units left over. What I wanted to do is a Zelius speech, which allows everyone to reduce stress by another 15. I wanted to furthermore reduce his stress by 15. And that was pretty much it. We're running out of time units. So Roby is at 4 stress, everyone else is at 0 stress. So that in itself was already worth it. Now we still have a big fat loot sarcophagus here. I'm turning out the light to increase the loot chance. Now it says loot plus plus plus, and we're going to use one of the keys to upgrade the loot. Good. That was our next quest.
All my whole. We reclaim what is ours.
We made 15 grand and we collected a bunch of heirlooms. Runes Tactician, 15% extra damage in runes. Not very good. Beast Hater, 15 damage versus Beast and minus stress versus Beast. Incredibly good, one of the best traits there is. Not only damage, but also stress reduction against a specific type is wonderful. Beast will be a very, very common type later in the game, so that's just really good. Obsessed with cleanliness, not so good. He will start to leave out certain turns. Good. So let's end this video on a positive explanatory note. And the way I want to do that is really by hiring a couple more guys and explaining the different classes. So before we go too deep into the who is who and who is doing what, Let's just take a general look at characters and then also at their skills. The characters, we do have 14 different character classes in this game. Every single character has its own set of skills, and you can select the way you want to build the character and do the loadout right away. Without going too deep into the weeds now, generally characters fulfill 1 out of 4 roles. Damage dealer. Damage dealer is supposed to deal the highest amount of damage either by direct damage or by issuing damage over time via bleed or blight. Damage dealer is good when a damage dealer can attack from as many positions as possible at as many positions as possible. Secondly, a stunner. A stunner is a crowd controlling character, and stun is the most common form of crowd control in this game. A good stunner is able to take a lot of actions away from an enemy and can stun more than one enemy on a reliable base. It is important to have them because they will reduce the damage that enemies are effectively dealing to you. Third class, or third category, healer. There are only 3 characters in the game that can effectively heal others, and with effectively I mean that really have something which could be considered a heal. A healer is specifically good if he can heal multiple targets or if he can heal reliable. A healer is good if he can heal or try to at least out-heal parts of the damage received. And last but not least, stress healer. Stress healers are characters that can reduce the level of stress that's induced. Stress healers are usually able to either for themselves or for others reduce the stress that they are currently having, similar to healers. So all of the characters fall into one or multiple of these categories. Let's take a look at Roby, Arnob, Zirkim, and Archie here real quick. Okay, Roby is a Crusader. As a Crusader, he's a frontliner, and the Crusader is mainly a stunner and a damage dealer. The way that the Crusader works is he will work from the very first 2 positions and effectively stun the very first 2 positions. Pretty straightforward. He has great downtime skills, specifically his option to reduce stress for everyone is greatly welcome. So when you have longer missions, this character is also a stress healer. Arnob, aka the Highwayman. The Highwayman is a damage dealer first and foremost and has a great mechanic which is called riposte. There is a skill, and we're going to use that skill more often. It's just called Duelist Advanced, and that is setting an active riposte ability. Riposte is an ability that mimics whenever he is being attacked. It will force a counterattack right away. So with that, you can have many more actions than you would normally have. So this character is first and foremost a damage dealer. Thirdly, Zirkim, the Vassal. The Vassal is probably the single best healer in the whole game and is focused on exactly that. The Vassal can also stun, but the Vassal has first and foremost an incredibly great heal, which is the group heal. And why that is so great, we're going to explore a little bit later. Last but not least, Archie Hasselberg. Archie is a Plague Doctor, and with a Plague Doctor, he is a combination of a stunner and a damage dealer. And his specific shenanigan is that he's going to deal blight damage, so that's damage over time. And that's super effective against enemy characters that have a high armor or protection. So watch out for Archie. He's going to kill these things. We're going to name all of them here after further viewers, and we're going to have an intro into their classes when they will join the party.